Great, thanks for joining us today. My name is Lawrence Reed from Victoria Oil and Gas. I joined Victoria Oil and Gas about 5 years ago with, in effect, a new management team that came in, which is effectively focused on building and wait for it, a vertically integrated domestic gas business. In short, we're a little unusual. We produce cash flow, we produce revenues. Last set of 4-year results, we produced 22.5 million net cash, which we're reinvesting in the business. That is obviously a well, which is flaring. That's LA 107 at our Log Barber production site. That's our third production well. Our fourth production well will be going online, fingers crossed, by the end of the year. Behind that is the city of Douala. The city of Douala, located in Cameroon, is the Johannesburg by the sea. It's the industrial centre of not just Cameroon, but indeed the region. The reason for that is, if you think about the countries adjoining Cameroon, is that it's had long-term stability, it's always had close connections with the United States, and it has comparatively very good infrastructure. The only time we really have problems moving up and down is when the UN convoys come in to move north into the other countries. So it's a proper container port, and we decided to look at these wells and unlock them from previous French drilling about 50 years ago, because they're in the city, because they're THP. We thought there was a good chance of finding gas that we can actually use and build a domestic infrastructure which could actually supply a real economy. And I have to say, I take my hat off to the Cameroonian government, because the Cameroonian government has allowed us to do that, and we'll make no bones about that. The Cameroonian government has said, right, we want to build an economy in Douala, we want to make it grow, so we're going to give you open pricing. So we sell our gas from everything from $7.5 per MMBTU to 16. Okay, we all know, I'm sure, a bit about domestic gas in Africa, but if you look at Nigeria next door and some other places in the region, you're lucky to squeeze $3.5 out that. By allowing us to do that, we've invested well over $200 million in this country over the last 5 years. We supply about 32 to 35 customers, diverse customer range, key. We don't supply to one power station, we don't just supply to the government. We supply to private customers, and we supply for thermal use, which I'll come to in a moment, and we supply 2 power stations which are semi-privately owned by Actis. And if I can give you one metric while I speed through my 10 minutes, okay, we're on 14 to 15 million scuffs per day average production at the moment on the pricing I've just explained. 50 megawatts, roughly speaking, equals 10 million scuffs, okay? So what we're planning to do, we've been gas restrained for a long time. We've raised this money, yes, to expand our production significantly. And remember, we're not developing our fields to sell the fields as fields. We're developing our fields to supply usable gas into our 55 kilometres of pipeline, which we've already put into the ground. Okay, so yes, expansion, but also costs. Log Barber, HTHP wells. They're fantastic when you get them online, but they're rather difficult to drill, okay? And that's the first drill rig of its size that's ever operated in Cameroon. We're very pleased with these wells. In fact, 35 million scuffs per day average is what we came out from LA 107. But we think by developing the new grounds that we've got, so Matanda that was assigned to us from Glencore, and also the Bomono locks we have an agreement with Bolivin, we can increase gas significantly but drive the costs down. And I'm going to whistle through this. So roughly speaking, we operate all of this. We often have, and no offence to the US merchant bankers who said, well, you should spin out the network and you should spin out this and you should just be wells or upstream, downstream. No, you can't do that. To operate successfully in Africa, you have to operate and you have to control every single part of this business, and it works very well. Condensate down at the bottom going off to the Sonara refinery. Also to assist the government, yes, they give us the money, but we've got lots of different product types. So from one thing, from gas, we can supply up at the top, you've got power stations, you've got thermal use for boilers, and you've got small scale gensets, which we're re-evolving that business. Essentially, what that means is when we started supplying thermal customers, so customers that need to be supplied with, here we go, with basically smelters, steam for boilers, all that type of thing. They came to us and said, well, that's all very well, what happens if the power goes out? So we started to develop this gas to electricity generation business. And Eneo Autarca, so you've got Autarca Gensets, Eneo there. Eneo is the state power partner, co-owned by Actis. We signed and made ourselves very unhappy with all our families the agreements with Eneo on the 28th of December 2013. We had gas going into our target gensets within 90 days. And it's that type of delivery. We're not trying to create massive LNG fields. That's not what we're into. But what we are doing is moving quickly, doing things which quickly address African power needs domestically. And I would argue that sections us out as something being very different from another cross-border investment company coming in to export energy. That's one of our safety officers by the condensate trucks, which go after the Scenario refinery. Log Barber Field, we've talked about that. Look at the reserves. They're comparatively low, but we don't need big reserves. We don't need the magic 4.5 to 6 TCF that you need to, in my view, create an export LNG market. And they've been very successful. LA 108, as I've said, will come on soon. Matanda, though, is absolutely key. Potentially very big reserves for us. We want to monetize them, and also we think the costs will come down significantly on the drilling. So we're not talking about approximately $35 million per well. So suddenly that becomes interesting because our costs per scuff, our costs per BTU suddenly starts coming on. There's the well site, there's the plant site, so I'll let you have slightly longer than that. We're quite proud of what we've done. If Kim Fu was here, he'd say it's because we're all miners and we're used to doing things with lots of money, but I, of course, wouldn't say that. There's our grid. 50 kilometres is actually more of that established. You can see the different customer types. Down here, we talk a lot about the new power station customers. They're located to the south by southeast. We'll probably build dedicated pipelines to them. If you know Bolivia, who we've done an agreement, they're about, I can't remember, we've put there about 10 kilometres from the end of the pipeline. When I first started working in this country, it took me about an hour, 20 minutes to get to the well site. It now takes me 20 minutes because of the infrastructure that's been put in. This place has boomed. It's one of the things I've been impressed with during my career is seeing Douala suddenly expand. The more energy that's come in, the more cross-border investments come in. Up to the northwest is the Pomona. It now takes me 4 hours to get over the bridge because those industrial estates have come up, although the Minister of Cameroon did assure me that the bridge has been completed. These are some of our customers. You can find this in our annual report, but just to show you, we produce gas, we sell gas, we're a real business with cash flow. We think there's a massive shortfall in this area of power. Let's remember, 10 million scuffs equals 50 megawatts. Okay, we only supply 14 to 50 million scuffs at the moment because we've been constrained by the amount of gas we have. We've been talking to Grenor and Debamba for a very long time, and we're going to probably announce news by the end of the year on Eneo. These guys want large amounts of scuffs to supply large amounts of megawatts. We couldn't do that. Now we're producing the amount of gas that they need. But here's the clever bit, in a sense, and again, I'll let you can find out in the presentation. It's just the different fields coming up. Again, just because I'm stuck for time. Right, here's the interesting bit, okay? The more we unlock the other fields, Matanda, Pomona, etc., the more the costs come down, which means our pricing suddenly becomes a lot more robust. So yes, we still want those 16 million scuffs per day, 16 bucks per million BTU, low use thermal customer. But suddenly we haven't just got the reserve to supply the high use power customers wanting up to 150 megawatts. Suddenly our costs become a lot more robust. And that's the thing I'd like to draw your attention to in our fundraising of last week. You've suddenly got an evolving margin-driven model which already has a track record of operation and supply. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence.